All my paper notes, important documents were burned. My guitars, books, childhood artwork, etc. are gone, but the gold and silver survived. Tuesday, January 21st, 2025, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, today we're going to look at a couple of things. First thing is how gold and silver are more important than ever as an asset to have as insurance, not just against inflation and against corrupt governments, against geopolitical risk, but also against literally natural disasters. Yes, think about the fires that have been raging in LA. We're going to look at that. But the other thing we're going to look at today is my view of what President Trump said yesterday in his inaugural address. That as well, in my opinion, is going to continue to affect the whole world in terms of the monetary sphere, economic and trade sphere. So let's start with the LA fires and how gold and silver literally survived it. And how do I know that? Well, the great thing about this channel is that I have people following me from all over the world. I'll give you an idea of the demographics or the geographic weightings of my viewers. 40% of you are in the US, about 20% in the UK, about 10% in Canada and Australia, and then even in the Netherlands. So the channel is viewed all over the place. And I've recently been contacted via Patreon. And that's another thing I wanted to tell you. A lot of times it's difficult for me to keep track of all the comments in the comment section. So if you really want to get in touch with me, you can think about signing up for my Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or for the price of a coffee, like $5 a month. And you can send me messages and I'll try to reply to you as quickly as possible. I don't post special exclusive videos on Patreon. I use that just to be in contact with you in a more private fashion. That's what the Patreon is for. But I saw that I had a new Patreon, and it's someone actually that's been following. And of course, I'm not going to give names. This is what he said. Hi, Mario. My name is so-and-so. I've been subscribed to your channel since 2016. So he's basically been following me since pretty much the beginning of this channel. He says, I'm 35 years old. I recall one of the first videos I saw on the bond market. So I talk a lot about the bond market because it's so important. The bond market, it determines the price of credit or money. But anyway, this is what he said. Anyway, and I'm quoting him now, my home was recently burned down in the Eaton fire in Altadena, California. I was concerned I lost everything. I just went back. Only 2 things maintained or remain. Can you guess what they were? Everything, paper burned, my books burned. I was pleasantly surprised. I have a story to tell you, but I'll wait until you respond to elaborate. So I did respond. I said to him, I'm sorry to hear about your home, but glad to know you're safe. Thank you for your support too. I think I can imagine what were the 2 things that remain after the fire, but I will let you elaborate. All the best, Mario. So he replied to me, and I'll go through his reply. And this is what he said. Mario, I learned a lot from you over the years, and I'm continuing to learn. My home burned down the morning of 8th of January. I was not able to bring much other than the clothes on my back. Between then and now, news of looters, not the government, lol, he said, were in the area stealing from homes and or rubble. So they sent the National Guard in to block any entrance into the Altadena area. Nobody except law enforcement, fire department, National Guard, and utility were allowed access. Just yesterday, they lifted those restrictions. We went to see what we could salvage from the property. I was able to find my safe. There you go, a safe. And from the front, and the front door was opened. I thought a looter got to it, but no, I dug in the rubble. Long story short, I was able to recover about 80% of my metals, most of my gold and most of my silver. The gold coins were virtually intact, bars warped, but I'll take it. My silver coins and rounds were in tubes. The tubes melted, but the silver remained, although some burn marks and some rows of coins welded together. Bars have burn marks as well. All my paper notes, important documents were burned. My guitars, books, childhood artwork, etc. are gone, but the gold and silver survived. Bittersweet, but I'll take it. This is another consideration. I think why the free market has determined them as money and valuable as media of exchange, store value, and unit of account. The melting point is greater than what fire can burn. I thought to message you about this not long after talking about Dirty Man's Safe and all things regarding sound money. So there you go. And he said, yes, good to be alive, of course. That's the most important thing. Yeah, it might sound from my videos that gold and silver are the most important things, but no, they're just insurance, not just against inflation, but against natural disaster in this case. So there you go. And I'm really sorry to hear about your home, and I hope you'll get back on your feet very soon. So let's switch to the inaugural address. Yes, I did listen to it. And looking back at the last 25, 30 years, it does seem like a very radical address. But I think it was very much based on common sense. And he even, President Trump even noted, we need some common sense. He mentioned also the golden era. Does it mean to say that we're going to go back on the gold standard? No, not necessarily. I'm not going to go into that because a golden era doesn't necessarily mean we're going to go back to gold as money or silver as money, even though that would be good. But it's more of it's more of symbolic, I think. And the other thing that I think is really important is that he's going to put America first. And even though he might have sounded very combative against other countries and very, let's say, patriotic, I actually think from what he said, he wants to deal and negotiate with other nations, and he doesn't want conflict, but he also wants to make sure that America's interests are looked after. So, yeah, my conclusion is that globalization is on its last legs. We saw that he's going to take America out of the Paris Accords, which I think is great, against the climate change narrative. I've always spoken here about how the big bankers like the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, they were the ones behind this environmental movement. They were the ones behind UNCED, which is the United Nations a group on environmental development. They first met in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. And why are the bankers so interested in this? Is it because they want to save the world and make everyone prosperous and happy? No, it's because they want to control you. And the only way the bankers and the globalists can control you is if they scare you into thinking there's a problem that is supranational, that is a world problem that needs like a world government, right? And what better place than the UN to institute that world government? And don't forget, the UN was basically a continuation of the League of Nations. The League of Nations, of course, came about as a result of World War I. The major countries that fought in World War I and the bankers who financed that war thought, let's create this League of Nations to move towards global government. But it failed because the United States did not want to be part of it. So with World War II, there was another chance, and they came up with the United Nations, which was, of course, funded by the Rockefellers and probably many other globalists. You can see here from this photo that one of the Rockefellers donated, I think, $8.5 million to the UN so they could build the headquarters in New York. So is Trump really going after them? Well, the way he is talking sounds like it. It could be just to political to please his base, but we're going to have to wait and see. As I said earlier, sometimes you need to keep your enemies even closer, or some of you might even argue that he's part of it. Well, we don't know. We got to give him a chance. And so how is that going to affect things monetarily, economically, and trade-wise? Well, trade-wise, I don't have to tell you. This morning, there's news here that Trump plans to enact 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada by February 1st. Yesterday, there was some rumors that he wasn't going to impose the tariffs right away. So the dollar really dropped sharply versus the euro and the pound. But this morning, for example, that has reversed somewhat. So that's the first effect of this move from President Trump. Yes, it's going to make things even more uncertain. It's a little bit like the crisis we had in 2020. It made the supply chain situation in the world disrupted. It disrupted economies. So this could have the same impact. And it might not be a good thing. It might actually hurt the United States economy. It will probably hurt the whole world. So the other thing that I think is going on, of course, is to do with geopolitics. Let's talk about Greenland. Well, Greenland is a very strategic island, almost a continental island. And it's up in the Arctic Circle, and it's a very important place. And as of now, Russia controls most of that region, and you've got Greenland and Canada. So I guess what Trump is trying to do is to get a presence there for the United States, a foothold. And aside from being strategically important for, let's say, natural gas and oil exploration, in the Arctic Ocean. It's also Greenland's supposed to have a lot of rare earth minerals, which is something that's really right now controlled by China. 95% of rare earth metals come from China. They're developed there. They are taken out of the ground there. They've really got like a monopoly, and they're really important rare earth minerals in our modern economy in terms of technology. They're really essential. So I think that's what Trump's looking at. And I think he's ready to negotiate with the Chinese. I saw that he's going to talk about TikTok. So I think a couple of years ago, maybe a little less, Zoltan Pozsar, he worked for the New York Fed. He worked for Credit Suisse, which doesn't exist anymore, of course. And he wrote something about how the next big thing is commodity sovereignty, that the world is in a war for natural resources. Unlike what the world was in back in the early 70s, when the Secretary of the Treasury, John Connolly, said to some European counterparts that the dollar is our currency, but it's your problem. So Zoltan said that, yes, commodities are your problem now, kind of saying to the BRICS, saying to America, you've got to look after yourself now, because we are ganging up together here to protect our interests. We don't want to use your currency as much because you print it out of thin air. And I think that's what Trump is doing. He's reacting to that. And that's why he said yesterday in the inaugural address, drill, baby, for oil and gas. Because he knows that, the globalist world where the dollar was accepted and not questioned, that's over. And I saw this morning as well that Saudi Arabia is still sitting on the fence in terms of the BRICS. Bloomberg just reported Saudi Arabia is still assessing BRICS membership. Minister says government was invited to join expanded BRICS group in 2023. Saudi says assessing many different aspects of membership. Well, you can bet the Saudis are concerned about the new president, and that's why they're sitting on the fence. Is this the end of the BRICS? I don't think so, but things are getting really interesting. Do I think Trump is going to be able to rein in inflation? Well, he did talk about inflation, that it was caused by the high energy prices and also by excessive or deficit spending. I agree about the deficit spending, but one thing he forgot to mention was that it was created also by the Federal Reserve and other central banks by printing money out of thin air. That is inflation, President Trump. And as for energy prices causing inflation, I don't agree with you. They are the consequence. Rising energy prices are the consequence of inflation. So, yes, I'm not sure they're going to rein in inflation anytime soon. I think personally the only way to rein in inflation is to stop this mechanism of creating currency out of thin air and go back to where currency or money is something real, tangible, or like commodity money. And of course that those are gold and silver, not funny money created out of thin air backed by debt. But that's a different topic, and I've covered that before. So I'm going to end it right here in terms of what I'm talking about. We're going to quickly look at where the markets are this morning. It's just before 9 a.m. London time. So got spot gold at 27.22. The high's been 27.33 and the low has been 27.02. So we're up about 15 bucks. Silver is at 30.40. It's down 11 cents. It's been as high as 30.76. And again, I still think silver is probably one of the most hated and undervalued assets out there. Yes, it's been frustrating, but I think it will pay off in spades. But anyway, we've got the Dow futures down 70, the NASDAQ down 66, and the S&P down 12. But I think compared to Friday, they are still up. This is compared to where the futures traded yesterday, even though the cash market, the markets were closed. So we'll have to see what happens when the markets open at 9:30 Eastern time in the US. Yeah, as I said, the pound and the euro rallied quite strongly after comments from Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal that Trump was not going to impose tariffs right away. So there's a bit of a relief rally. But now the pound, for example, is down 0.5%, and the euro is down 0.5% as well. So that's what's going on there. In terms of the other commodities, things are pretty steady. What about the bond market? Well, the bond market has recovered recently in the last few trading days, but I think that's all it is. It's a counter trend rally in the bear market. And I think we're going to have to keep a close eye on bond yields because that is a big thing that will affect the whole, all the markets and the financial system. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.